everyone. Glad to have you. Today we're going to be talking about the IND in the CTD format, or eCTD. The format is the same, just one is how you submit it, whether you submit it electronically or on paper. So let's talk about the learning objectives for today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the common technical document, how and why it came into existence. We'll go over the actual CTD pyramid, some of the basic tools for the electronic common technical document submission. We'll talk about style guides, why they're important for eCTD implementation, and then we're going to map the contents of the traditional IND to the CTD format. So why are we using a CTD? This has been an ongoing process in the pharmaceutical industry for quite a while. Over 20 years ago, there was sort of this need for standardized formal format for the global studies that was noted, and a group of people got together to design a single set of technical requirements. So what this is used for really is the whole life cycle of a product, a drug or a biologic, to produce a whole package or a dossier, if you will, for registration of new drug products, to streamline the process, at least from a paperwork perspective, reduce industry preparation time for global submissions, and that was really key. Provide consistent reviews across global authorities, and to facilitate the electronic submission process. So the people that started it formed a group called the International Conference on Harmonization. These were primarily regulatory authorities in the EU, Japan, and the US, and as well as experts in the pharmaceutical industry in all regions. Most countries do follow ICH. I have created a handout here for you that you can use as a reference if you're interested, if you're going to be doing clinical trials anywhere and want to see who really follows ICH. And you can see it's quite extensive. One of the things that I find interesting is that Japan is not on the list. Japan does still adhere to certain Japanese guidances, although they are well versed in the ICH guidelines. So we're going to talk about the CTD itself, for the Common Technical Document. It's a modular document system. It's very well organized, but it is very inflexible, and that's where the standardization comes in. So there is flexibility within the system. You just have to know where within the system this flexibility occurs. And one thing that's important to note, and a lot of people have trouble wrapping their heads around this, is the Common Technical Document applies to format only. So we're still submitting an IND. We're still going to apply for a marketing application, whether it's an NDA, a BLA, or an MAA. Basically, it's the names and locations of the information or data that changes. So we're still following the same regulations. Everything that you would normally do for an IND, since we're talking about INDs today, would be the same. It's just a matter of where you put it in your dossier or in the ether, if you will, because most of these are going to be electronic submissions. So all guidance documents apply. These guidance documents were developed by this whole ICH group. They were developed originally in the mid-90s. There are some updates to those documents, as well as there is some discussion about ICH finally revising them after all this time. Whether or not it's actually happening, I'm not 100% sure. It is the required format in ES, EU, Japan, Canada, and Australia, although I can tell you from recent experience that the Japanese format is still different. It is their interpretation of the ICH guidance, so if you are working with Japan, expect that there will be some discussion about the format. I will say that in this recent submission, we did adhere to our ICH format that we had used. The main difference was adding in data that was specific to Japanese subjects. That was a separate sub-analysis, so that is an option if you're working with Japan. So the CTD is basically designed for all documents to be followed and formatted in a certain way over the life cycle of a submission. So the submission itself allows for initial versions and then amended versions of documents as necessary. Now for your initial IND, only certain sections of this CTD process are going to be used, and this is also some of the confusion, because typically when we submit an IND in the past, we've submitted things, even if we submitted them electronically, we submitted them in a certain way and certain things had to be filled in the blanks for your IND. And now forms haven't caught up with this whole CTD process, so we have to sort of know where to put it, and then in the actual backbone where there would be sort of empty spaces, how do we manage that? So it's really just electronic management more than anything, or if you're doing paper submissions, where you would put sort of a tab and the information is not currently available, that kind of thing. So in terms of when you're using the Common Technical Document, you have to use the numbering that is provided. You cannot add additional numbering. Now this doesn't mean you can't add subheadings, but the headings need to stay the same, and then you modify underneath those headings. You can't delete any sections that are not used in the IND. So you have to note somewhere that no information is available at this time. And typically headers longer than level 5 are not recommended. So for those of you that are familiar with the submission process, when you're doing the CTD version, you're going to see that sections will often already start with a 5-digit header. So if you're submitting, let's say, a protocol into Module 5, you might already have 5.3.5.1 or .1.2 or something already is the beginning of that document.